Writing is only about 5,000 years old, but humans have been talking, arguing, and telling stories for over 300,000 years. That means for 98% of human history, nobody could write a single word. No letters, no books, no text messages. So how did anyone actually get anything done? Meet Thok. Thok has something to tell his tribe, and he has no alphabet to do it with. The first tool Thok reaches for is his own voice. Scientists found a tiny bone in a cave in Israel called Kabara Cave back in 1989. It was a hyoid bone, the little bone in your throat that lets you form complex sounds. It belonged to a Neanderthal, and it looked almost identical to yours. That single bone told researchers something huge. Our relatives could probably speak, long before any of them could write. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, can learn signs and symbols, but their throats simply cannot produce the range of sounds yours can. Somewhere in our evolution, our ancestors' throats dropped lower. Our tongues gained more room to move, and suddenly a whole new range of sound became possible. So Thok talks. He argues. He gossips. He warns his tribe when danger is close. But speech disappears the second you stop making the sound. If Thok wants to say something that lasts, he needs another trick. He starts pointing. He starts moving his hands and his face. You do this too, every single day, without even noticing it. Gesture is older than language itself, and it never really left us. Watch a 2-year-old today who cannot speak yet. They point, they wave, they reach with open arms toward the thing they want. Gesture works so well that babies use it before they ever learn a single word. But gestures still vanish once your hands stop moving. Thok wants something that survives after he walks away. So he picks up a sharp rock and he scratches a line into a bone. In a cave in South Africa called Border Cave, archaeologists found a baboon's leg bone with 29 deliberate notches cut into it. It is called the Lobombo bone, and it is around 44,000 years old. Nobody knows exactly what Thok's ancestors were counting. Days in a lunar cycle, animals killed, people in the group. But for the first time, information could outlive the person who made it. That single idea, a mark that means something, is the seed that writing eventually grew from. Thok is not done yet. He wants to say something bigger than a number. So he walks deep into a cave, past where daylight reaches, holding a torch made of fat and reeds. On the wall, he presses his hand flat and blows red ochre powder around his fingers. In Chauvet Cave in France, art like this has been dated to roughly 36,000 years ago. In Blombos Cave in South Africa, researcher Christopher Henshelwood found engraved ochre pieces dated to 73,000 years ago, decades before Chauvet. These were not random scribbles, they were symbols, repeated on purpose, meant to be understood by someone else. Imagine standing in that cave, torch shaking in your hand, staring at a mark another human left just for you to find. That feeling of a message crossing time is the entire reason writing was eventually invented. But Thok's tribe has a bigger problem than messages across time. They have a problem with messages across distance. His cousin lives 3 valleys away, and shouting will not reach that far. So different groups solved this differently. In West Africa, the Yoruba people developed talking drums, an instrument tuned to mimic the rising and falling tones of spoken language itself. A skilled drummer could send whole sentences across kilometers of forest, understood by anyone who knew the rhythm. On La Gomera in the Canary Islands, shepherds developed something even stranger. A whistled language called Silbo Gomero, loud enough to carry across entire canyons, still used by locals today. Other groups skipped sound entirely and went straight to light and smoke. A single column of smoke rising from a hilltop could mean danger, or a successful hunt, or simply come home. Change the number of columns or the pattern of puffs, and you change the entire message. At night, a fire on a distant ridge could carry a warning across a valley in seconds, faster than any runner could sprint. None of this was writing. All of it was communication that traveled further than a human voice ever could alone. Thok's world is getting more complicated, and complication needs memory. So the tribe leans on its oldest technology, the story. Long before any script existed, oral tradition carried entire histories, family trees, and survival knowledge across hundreds of generations. In Australia, Aboriginal communities used songlines, long chains of song tied to specific landmarks across the landscape. Follow the song correctly, in order, and you could navigate hundreds of kilometers of desert you had never seen before. Get one verse wrong, and you could walk straight into the wrong direction with no water for days. Elders spent years training the next generation to hold that song perfectly in their memory, because a single mistake could cost someone their life. Memory itself became a map, a library, and a lifeline, all without a single written word. Now picture Thok many generations later. His descendants are not just hunting anymore, they are trading grain for pottery, sheep for tools, favors that need to be remembered and repaid. Around 8000 BCE, communities across the Middle East started shaping small clay tokens, each one representing a specific good, a jar of oil, a measure of grain, one single sheep. Around the same time in the Andes, communities near the ancient city of Corral were tying knots into cords of colored string to track exactly this kind of information. Different colors for different goods. Different knots for different amounts. A trader could run his fingers over a single cord, feeling the knots like braille, and read an entire transaction without a single written symbol. Researcher Denise Schmant-Besserat spent years studying the clay tokens from the Middle East and connecting the dots. Traders would seal a handful of tokens inside a hollow clay ball as a record of a deal. But there was an obvious problem. Once the tokens were sealed inside, nobody could check the deal without breaking the ball open. So someone came up with a simple fix. Press the tokens into the wet clay on the outside first before sealing them inside. Now the ball itself showed exactly what it contained, without opening it at all. And then came the real leap. If the shape on the outside already tells the story, why bother putting tokens inside at all? Just draw the shape directly onto a flat tablet of clay. By around 3400 BCE, in the city of Uruk in Mesopotamia, that drawn shape became cuneiform, the first true writing system in the world. It did not start as poetry or prayer. It started as an accountant's shortcut, a way to remember exactly how much grain someone owed. Picture the scribe in Uruk, pressing a reed into wet clay under the sun, drawing the same little wedge shapes his teacher had shown him. He has no idea he is doing something that will still be readable 5,000 years later. He just wants to get the grain count right before the tablet dries. Thok never got to see it, but every single thing he did built toward it. His voice, his hands, his scratched bone, his painted wall, his drum, his story passed down by firelight. Every layer of communication humans invented is still stacked inside you today. When you talk with your hands, that is Thok's gesture. When you scroll past a photo before you read the caption, that is Blombos Cave, still working on your brain. When you remember a song better than a paragraph, that is a songline, quietly proving Thok's tribe right. Writing did not replace any of that. It just got stacked on top, like one more tool in a very old toolbox. And maybe that is why, thousands of years after cuneiform, we still send a voice message instead of typing. We still draw a little face instead of describing our mood in words. We still gather around a screen to hear someone tell a story out loud. Thok would probably recognize all of it immediately. Give him a phone for 5 minutes, and he would probably skip the keyboard and go straight for the microphone button. Because underneath the apps and the alphabets, we are still exactly who he was, a human standing in the dark, just trying to make sure the next person understands. Writing was never the whole story of how we talk to each other. It was just the last chapter we happened to write down.